horse's name is KD Cadis. This horse is left in the gate so badly that you're thinking they're going to refund the money. That had to be a malfunction. There's no way a horse.
State.
Yeah, no, I mean it's they call it refused or whatever. I don't know. There's a term for it when the horse just doesn't even break.
It just said screw it.
So finally, it plops out of the gate like the field's already on the turn.
Oh my God.
So I lost track of the horse because they'll show you the numbers, but he ended up. I mean, he was flying at the finish and ended up picking up fourth. So
Really?
any kind of a reasonable start. This was a first-time starter.
my God,
Any
that's
kind of starter. If he breaks anywhere within 5 lengths of the field, he wins the race by 6.
That's impressive, actually.
KD Cadis.
Oh my God.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
What we gonna do right here is go back.
Way back.
Back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
This is great. If you're going to peel yourself off the mat after a 4-day spectacular Thanksgiving weekend, you don't want to do it alone. And
No, you don't. No, you don't.
we had to make certain juxtapositions and special arrangements here on the program today to accommodate Lubie's busy travel schedule.
I'm glad you straightened that out. It wasn't
Yeah.
my doing. I was asked, can you do 7 o'clock Monday morning? Sure, for Lubie, anything.
Well, it's a perfect occasion to have you here on the program after just a gigantic weekend of football all the way around, college and the pros. I was texting Tony during the Saturday games. A lot of spectacular stuff going on. Of course, started with a little bit of a poke at his University of Miami team. Not that I don't love the Canes, having been affiliated with them very closely for many, many glorious years. And I really enjoyed all of my associations there. Some great friendships were formed that will, last to my grave. And it was a terrific period of time. But I'm watching Florida State and Florida on Friday night, and I'm thinking, wow, these two teams look really good as college football teams. Now, it was a shootout, and it seemed like whoever had the ball last was probably going to win the game. It didn't quite turn out that way, but close. And I remember I texted Tony in the middle of this thing in like the first quarter. I said, these two teams are light years ahead of UM.
Yeah.
And sure enough, UM – but they were. I mean, they just looked like polished college football teams.
Florida State for sure. I'm still.
The Gators didn't look bad either. I mean, considering everything.
But, here's the thing. I think really, and again, I always say this: rivalry games are different. They just are. The guys get up differently. They play differently. I think that. It's hard to gauge that. And I think Florida looked good because they're playing Florida State. Prior to that game, Florida has not looked very, very good. And listen, I knew that we were gonna talk about this morning, and I watched, and I was disappointed on Saturday as well, watching Miami play Pitt and see how they played. And it's just
another pathetic, lifeless.
Thank God we're through the season. Thank God we're through the season. Let's see. Let's go from here.
But zero improvement. I mean, a regression through the course of the year, Tony Segreto. Which was very hard to explain.
Yeah,
considering we have a better coaching staff, supposedly.
And I still think we have a better coaching staff. But again, players got to buy in, and there's going to have to be a whole revamp. I am not going to be surprised if we see a whole redo, a restructuring of this roster. And I'm telling you.
Well, you would have to.
I mean, obviously that's an understatement. But again, I'm hearkening back to, Mr. Negativity over here on the upper left, the guy right here. Norvell is an ass. He's a horrible coach. He's going to be terrible.
But that's Lubie. You can't go by Lubie.
Wait. The first year was the same thing, man. I think, they're not getting any better. This sucks, this whole deal. This team is going to be in the top 15 and going to get a decent bowl. And listen, my daughter, Lubie, everybody was all gung ho about them going to the Orange Bowl. That's with possibility, but a lot had to happen. And the main one to have happen didn't happen because Clemson got beat. And as a result, we find them back in the pack, but I still think Florida State's going to wind up with a really nice bowl, and
as they should. They played well.
Yeah, as they should, and we'll see where they wind up on Tuesday night. I think that I think they'll probably wind up pretty close to where the AP poll put them at. We're at 14. Luby, are they at 14 in the AP poll?
Probably 12, 13. I can see them 12, 13.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of debate as to whether Ohio State still should be in the Final Four. And God, I just hope that's not happening.
No, I can't imagine.
I can't imagine. They just got speedboated out. I mean, Michigan just.
Did you hear from Ed Garcia?
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding
Texas
me?
Roadhouse?
Are you kidding me?
Is Ed going to join us today? If ever there was a day for him to come join us.
He'll be on with us at 7:30 this
Oh,
week.
beautiful.
He said, I'm on cloud 9. I said, I hope you're texting me this, and please don't misunderstand me. I hope you're texting me this after having, some libation as a result of this win. He goes, oh, yes, for sure. But that was
and you remember the rhetoric, the narrative, the conversation, as they call it. Most of the season, the first 6 or 7 games, was that Michigan was playing a bunch of patsies. So we'll finally see what they're all about when they play Penn State, I guess, and
yes,
that was like their first real test, and they survived that, and were very impressive. And then they just mowed through them. What was it, like 27-3 in the second half of that game? That was pretty phenomenal.
Dominated. I mean, they totally dominated that line of scrimmage. I mean, totally just ramrodded them, and it was impressive. I got to tell you, there were some that whole day. I thought that whole day
that was a great day of college football.
It was just it was fabulous. And I'd like to see, and I am gonna mention this. I love to see teams that continue to battle, that continue to fight. Clemson was still, regardless of whether they lost, regardless of whether you like or dislike Dabo Swinney, they fought to the very end. And then this young player, muffs fumbles a kick right before. I mean, with a shot that Clemson can still win the game at the very end of the game. Seconds left in the game, the kid fumbles it. They lose the ball. Dabo was not happy, obviously, but the way he grabbed that kid and consoled him and talked to him on the sideline and away from the camera got them. He wasn't doing it in front of the camera. I just thought that was beautiful. And the way, Clemson continued to fight. Notre Dame continued to fight their ass off to the end of the game, despite the fact that, they had some, 2 or 3 really bad plays that cost them the game and lost to a better team and lost to the Patrick Mahomes of college football. Caleb Williams.
This kid's good. Unbelievable.
I am telling you, he's freaking Houdini. This guy is if that young man does not win the Heisman Trophy, I don't know. Listen, I know Bryce Young is really good. But what Caleb Williams has done, that young man was a Heisman moment there. It was impressive. But games like that, Pitt against Miami. We're talking about lamenting because we're Hurricane fans. I went to Miami. We all did their games there. I'm dyed in blue, orange, and green, man. I'm doing interviews today for and this is
that ought to be fun getting down there.
I am all about.
There's a chalk outline of Joe Zagacki in front of the Heck Athletics.
I am all about But as long as we keep fighting and keep trying to improve and getting things right and getting it better. Pitt, I thought, showed up and did a heck of a job. So.
I didn't see that though from the Canes. See,
I did not see it.
Very characteristic that last, you are singing the praises
that last game. I'm not disagreeing with you, Jeff. I am not. It was disappointing. Yeah. I want people to listen to what I'm saying. Again, we're going through this. Please listen. I'm as disappointed and as upset as anybody. What I'm saying is, you all want to jump off the bandwagon? That's fine. I'll be on here by myself because it'll change, it'll flip, and when it does, y'all are going, "Can I please get back on?" And I'm going, "Sure." There's places.
Okay. Let me ask you: do you see him making staff changes? Because a lot of people are not happy with the offensive coordinator, who pretty much ruined.
I see him. If there's gonna be a change in the staff, it may be that. That would be where it would come from. I would think.
It's like firing the hitting coach.
Again, yeah. Exactly.
He's always the guy that goes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got Charlie Lau and you fired a guy.
All I know is Van Dyke. I know he had injuries, but he was nothing what the player was. And I always think of Don Shula, God rest his soul. He had his style, but he had his players determine the style. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I mean,
that's what they do.
He did a complete 180 with Marino.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not so sure we did that with Tyler. I don't know what we did, and so we'll see. We'll see. Listen, we have a whole year to lament. We have a whole year to decide how we want to handle this. And Mario Cristobal has a lot in front of him, a lot to do. And Hurricane fans, either you are or you aren't. Plain and simple. If you want to bitch about your brother, you want to bitch about your sister, that's fine. But they're still your brother and sister, right? Right, Lubie? Am I right? Okay.
Think of it this way, though. A line from a song, guy that I follow a little bit from St. Petersburg, Damon Fowler, has a song, and he says, "You can't start a fire without a spark." All right, and what we didn't see this year was the spark. In fact, that thing was just like dead flat. It flamed out. And when you factor in, okay, people can have lofty expectations about a team. I thought the Rams were going to the Super Bowl. Am I right about that?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
They're going straight to hell, and maybe even like the number one pick.
You're right. It's like there was no pilot light. You're absolutely
right.
But
there was no fire whatsoever going with this team at any time.
No, I was. That's I think the most upsetting part of this is that there wasn't this fight. And I don't mean it. I mean this overwhelming. We're gonna go do this. I just never
completely
felt
flat starts against good teams. I mean, now Pittsburgh. John Congemi, is John going to be with us later today too? We're doubleheader. Beautiful.
Pigskin Playbook.
All to accommodate Lubie's trip to Hawaii, which we're going to be off for like a week here, courtesy of Lubie. He says he doesn't want to go, but we know he wants to go because it'd be like me saying I don't want to go on one of these casino junkets, Tony. I mean,
where are you going in Hawaii, by the way?
I have no idea. You can ask. I'll let you talk to Shirley. I have no clue. I really don't. We're still.
Come on, you're not even curious as to where.
Well, we've been moving in literally the last 2 weeks. Like we had work done and moved. Like this whole weekend we moved in.
You look far more professional, by the way. With that,
are you in a house? Are you in a house or a condo?
We're in our new house, our 4-bedroom house in.
Wow, where is it?
It's I'm not telling people where I live. It's in Coral Springs. It's in East Coral Springs.
No,
I don't think I ever owned a 4-bedroom house. I mean, 3 was tops. What do you think, Tony? 4 bedrooms, Lubie. I mean, somehow
think we must be expecting little Lubies
at some point.
Oh, Jesus! Yeah,
Jesus.
All right. Many things happen on the account. So anyway, Lubie's going to Hawaii. We're going to be off for like a week here. We're going to be coming back, a week from tomorrow?
Yes.
That's going to be our next show. So Tony's here, and John Congemi going to join us also today here on Appeal Yourself Off the Mat Monday, and then we go on a little bit of a hiatus. And as I said, very appropriate because it really was. I know you love college football. I think it's a sport you're most passionate about besides your women's softball, which you had, family reasons to be involved in that. And we respect that and appreciate that. So many things. I'm watching this Oregon State game.
Oh my gosh, what a game!
And I turned it off. I was doing something else anyway. It wasn't like I had a compelling interest in this game. I had no action on it. But I'm watching Oregon, and they're just annihilating Oregon State. They're up like 3 touchdowns.
And then Oregon State.
And later you told me that they won Oregon State, and I thought, how is that possible? And you had a fumble on the 1-yard line by the punter. And then a series of unanswered plays by Oregon State, and they drop out of consideration for a lot of lofty postseason connections.
There wasn't one game that wasn't compelling in that series of games. Oregon State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Southern Cal. I thought that South Carolina line, I mentioned it to you. That was way out of whack, wasn't it? I mean, South Carolina had just throttled, was it Tennessee they beat the week before?
Yes, the week before.
And then they're getting like 30 against Clemson. It was incredible.
Cool was it to see Frank Beamer just cheer on his son? I just, Frank Beamer, I was telling my wife, Roseanne, I said, the Frank Beamer really exemplifies what a college coach should be. He did it he did it in the Bowden years. It was Bowden and Beamer. Those were the guys that you not only respected as coaches, respected as men, and respected as men who led men. Right? They had just great programs, and the people they turned out, the young men they turned out were exceptional. To see him in the stands cheering on his son and watching his son overcome the long odds and battling, recruiting against Clemson and in that area. I mean, I just thought it was fabulous. I thought it was fabulous. And the young man, the young Beamer, he took a shot at was it Jesse Palmer or something like that for not picking them, and I just thought it was great. He was fabulous, and he acknowledged as soon as the game was over. The first thing he did was look up to the stands and his dad, and that to me is what exemplifies
Beamer special teams, man. I mean, he put special teams on the
Beamer
college
ball,
football
man.
map. Yeah.
Beamer ball. It was fantastic.
Every other year, they used to, present a major challenge for everybody there at Virginia Tech, which you'd have to think, bringing a kid into Blacksburg probably isn't the greatest recruiting tool. You don't even want them to see the city or where they're going to play lately. Probably have like a phony city set up, so they can recruit kids. But no, he was great, and they were very gracious. Also, I remember interviewing him many times during those Virginia Tech rivalry games, and there were some monster games that the two teams played, and he couldn't have been any more accommodating or any more gracious or any more kind of straightforward when it came to the conversations that you had with him. All right, so at the Michigan-Ohio State game, of course, Michigan now catapults itself up to number 2. Georgia did annihilate Georgia Tech, although Georgia Tech managed to cover the point spread there, which was a nice consideration for me. Yeah. So Georgia remains number 1. A chance to go back-to-back championships, which that's Alabama type of stuff. Then you've got TCU. I mean, they put on a very impressive performance, scored 60 points in their ball game, and remained undefeated. And USC gets in there courtesy of their big win over Notre Dame, and of course they had beaten UCLA, looking highly vulnerable defensively. Although they did come up, and their whole thing has been turnovers all year long. Even though they give up a lot of points, they get a lot of turnovers. Which obviously aids the cause and has helped them with just a one loss on the year. But I don't know. A lot of people feel like they're the most suspect of the teams.
I think so too. I think if they played a team,
their defense sucks.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know if it's they played a lot better against the Irish, but I think
they were good in spots.
Yeah,
where they needed to be.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When you take that big of a lead over a team like Notre Dame's not built to make big comebacks. The other 3 teams in this foursome right now, whether it's TCU, Georgia, or Michigan, they certainly can. People didn't think Michigan could score that many points. They didn't think that they could ramrod Ohio State like they did. But certainly Georgia and TCU, if they wind up, let's say it stays it like this, and it's 1 against 4. If USC jumps out on top of Georgia has the firepower to come right back at them. And I think it would be interesting to see that Georgia defense against Caleb Williams. I mean, that's legendary stuff right there.
A tale of 2 Harbaughs, man, over the weekend, huh? I mean, Jim Harbaugh has this great victory.
Oh, yeah.
And John Harbaugh suffers yet another, just indignant defeat against Jacksonville. And that's about the 4th time they've let one slip away like that in the final minutes after having a lead.
I want to do this video. I envisioned this video last night. I'm laying in bed, and I'm thinking, watching Harbaugh, the Michigan Harbaugh.
Yeah,
he always looks like he's trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Yeah,
right.
He's quirky. No,
he's
question.
Always got that. Oh, look, okay. And Saban is always pissed about something. I would love to do some music video to just watch Saban and Harbaugh on the sideline. Just to do a thing just on the 2 of them, because it is remarkable to watch them go. And how cool is it to not be talking about Alabama in the Final Four? How great is it?
They may find a way.
They're not going to find a way. They are not going to find a way. It's not going to happen.
All right, so what happens now with these committees? Now what's going on with the Orange Bowl? You mentioned, now the only reason I brought it up to you, I would have had no idea how it was structured. I know they take an ACC team. And now Clemson didn't get into the championship game, and they're not going to be eligible for the bowl championship playoff series. So they become the high priority there. But, what are the things that are being taken into consideration here? Because you're making it sound like it could be Alabama, Clemson in the Orange Bowl.
Yeah,
what are the other bowls doing that aren't involved in the playoff structure?
It's all figured out. Basically,
All right,
it will
already?
be well. This is the way. There's everything is done by formula now. Years ago,
What
Jeff,
happened to
when
inviting
we-
Notre
we-
Dame to the Orange Bowl before the season started?
yeah, exactly. We don't do that anymore.
No.
It was all about recruiting a team, right? It was all about going out and wooing a team, saying,
Yeah.
"Please come to our bowl." Here's how it works: the
Yeah.
Orange Bowl gets the ACC champion. That could be North Carolina.
So it is whoever wins that game automatically goes. Like it can't
Yeah,
be
exactly.
because to me, if Carolina wins, FSU actually will be ranked higher than both Clemson and Carolina. But that's only if one of the teams go to the CFP,
Right.
then it's the next highest ranked.
I'm just saying it's Clemson, and then after that, it's the next highest rated team between the SEC, the Big Ten, and Notre Dame.
Okay.
Plain and simple. So that next highest rated team, more than likely, now you got to factor in that the Rose Bowl is going to take Ohio State. They don't have to, but they're probably going to take Ohio State. So now, who's going to be the next highest ranked team? Is it going to be Alabama, an SEC team, a Big Ten team, or Notre Dame? Notre Dame's out. The Penn State, as good as they've been playing, they're not going to be higher than Alabama. So you've got to figure it's that Bama's going to be the one. I mean, but now things could change, and we'll see how that plays out because other teams have selections too. Right. So the Sugar Bowl has to go through its process. Ours might not be Alabama. Alabama may be gone, depending on that formula. So we'll see.
All right. Going to be interesting. And the conference championship games are set.
Yep.
Do you foresee upsets taking place? I mean, it's always interesting, and this happens a lot. I mean, people always talk about the look-ahead game, which I don't really buy into that much. The whole idea, they just played so-and-so, and this was a patsy, and they were looking ahead to whatever big
I don't believe
was on the schedule. But there can be, I would think, this is where you see surprising, like shocking upsets, right? Where a team has done everything they need to do on their resume to qualify for the Final Four, but then they have to play the conference championship game and somehow.
So let's go through
let's
go through the conference championships
right.
and see what the early spreads are. Do you have them in front of you?
I might. Let me see here.
Take a look.
Yeah, I'm not far away from a point spread. Man, I got to say, I had to sweat out a couple of point spreads.
I know.
I'm watching for no reason other than the fact that I was getting 19 points with Michigan State. I'm watching Michigan State and Penn State, right? So this is how aggravating it can get. And Penn State's controlling the game the entire way. Michigan State finally gets into a position where if they score a touchdown, kick the extra point, they have a 2-touchdown edge. They could have given up 2 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes, which they eventually did, and still covered the 19-point spread. But what do? They get to 21-16, and they go for 2.
Right.
Miss that. And, of course, they did give up the subsequent 2 touchdowns to Penn State, and that game ends up in a push. All right, let
me answer Jim Sarney. Yes. So I'm thinking, I'm saying that, Alabama now early on, but yes, Sugar Bowl will get probably Alabama, and then we go next. And what goes from there? Is it going to be a Penn State? Is it going to be a Tennessee? Is it going to be? So we'll find out when this all shakes out. But we want to get the conference games done first.
Yeah.
So we have the SEC is what?
All right, here we go. Here's what I have here. I'll go down the list in the order that I can find them here. The Pac-12 championship game is Utah, who's beaten and tagged USC with its only loss in kind of a thrilling Manila shootout game, which was great. But they did prevail in that one. USC is favored by 2 points in that game over Utah. The Big Ten, Michigan, a giant favorite over Purdue, 16 and a hook.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd imagine Ed Garcia is feeling a little bit of a comfort zone there. Probably has a couple of filet mignons that he's been, aging gracefully, for consumption right after the game. Clemson 7 and a hook over North Carolina in the ACC game, and TCU's a 2-point favorite over Kansas State in the Big 12 game. So
and the SEC.
The SEC, where is that? What are they playing this game? Let's see. SEC.
Isn't it Georgia? Isn't it Atlanta?
SEC. Georgia 16 and a hook over LSU, which LSU got pounded by Texas A&M, which
was
kind
weird.
of a surprise to me. I was surprised they were underdogs to Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And
weird.
Jimbo's had an awful season, a nightmarish year, and that it turned out to come to fruition. That once again, surprise, surprise, the odds makers were right, and
Yeah.
the right team favored. And
Yeah.
even though I think
So-
Texas A&M was like 4-7 going into that game.
So, pardon me, early morning, but
A couple of blowout games and a couple of games that obviously
we could
the
see.
odds makers feel could go either way.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think this championship weekend is going to be a great weekend. I really, really do. That Utah SC game, that when has the Pac-12 ever been interesting enough to where you really care about the game?
I mean, you're hurting me here, Tony. I know it goes back 40 years, but I was a big Pac-8 fan.
I know
back in the day, and then when it became the Pac-10 and now the Pac-12, I still kind of enjoy that West Coast football a little bit. I really do. I know there's a bias here. The people, it's kind of like it's the same bias that horse racing fans have about West Coast horses and East Coast horses and Kentucky breds and things like that. And they really don't like these Baffert monsters that come in here, and everybody wants to see them lose. And it seems that way with East Coast bias, especially Southeast versus California teams and teams out west. But they play an exciting brand of football.
Yeah,
they really do.
But I think listen. I think that the Orange Bowl, I'm excited. I think we're going to wind up with a great game, whether it's Clemson, Tennessee. Clemson.
Were you ready to field Lubie's, outrageous ticket requests? Which, of course, he was going to look for freebies. Is that why you were happy that Florida State?
No. Because
listen,
the first ticket, the first one I was taking care of was my daughter. That's the first one.
All right. So Lubie had to get in line.
So Lubie had to get in line for sure.
All right. The line was short,
and then we'll see. We'll see with Clemson and I'm assuming Clemson wins. I'm assuming that, but it would be good for me because I have a lot of Clemson fans and they're going to want tickets, and I need to unload these tickets. So,
oh yeah, how many do you have here? I mean, Alabama will be a big draw if they get in.
I think
certainty.
again,
so
I think
Clemson,
that
Tennessee, both of those seem like decently traveling group fan bases. I feel like, and they're both.
I think Clemson will still travel. I'm not sure Alabama's going to travel because they're not getting, they're not in the national championship game. So
let's say Alabama's in.
They're going to probably wind up in Sugar, and if Tennessee comes, I think it would be great.
They haven't made a major bowl in a long time.
No, they haven't.
They travel in droves to get down here, especially down here. I mean,
but again, it could. Hey, listen, if LSU stays in this game, LSU could wind up being ranked higher, and so many things yet have to happen. I can sit here and tell you, Alabama, Tennessee. But in the meantime, let's not forget Penn State, even though they probably should go to the Cotton Bowl. But we'll. By the way, the Cotton Bowl.
Where's the Cotton Bowl stand in terms of stature? It seemed to have been diminished.
It is
greatly over the years.
I think when you think of the big ones, I'm thinking. I mean, again, I'm prejudiced, but you got Rose, you got Rose, Orange, Sugar, and to me, those are the big three. What would you think? I mean,
the Cotton Bowl used to be one of the.
They used to be
major bowls.
Yeah.
Well, Fiesta, and then Chick-fil-A did a weird thing where once the playoffs came around, they found out they horned in the former Peach, now the Chick-fil-A bowls. I think on equal footing, which is weird because it never was.
Yeah. No, so we'll see. We'll see.
Let's bring in a minute in the hour here.
I don't have
and of course, we have Tony. Usually every Wednesday, 8:00. Tony goes old school with us. So we started
there
the show with
he is.
Tony.
This is amazing. I don't have a fight song. I'm so sorry.
You look you look like a test pattern.
I have not taken off my winning game gear yet. So
that's
nice.
Awesome. That is awesome. Good for
now
you.
You were there,
man.
right? Ed Garcia?
No, I did not. I was on my couch celebrating every part of the way. So that was the best. I got to watch it in 4K, HD, all the replays. It would have been a great thing to be there, but being at home was something else.
Now, were you nervous at halftime?
Yes, I was very nervous after that first drive. I mean, Ohio State
they made that quick. That first drive was quick.
Oh, it was quick. I mean, the passing game, the defense, the man-to-man couldn't keep up. And they played really, really, really well. it reminded me of the last time I was there was 2006. I think it was like 49-45, something like that. But it was a very similar game, and both teams played their heart out. And and Ohio State came out champion, but not this time.
Yeah, it was something. Now, did you watch the game by yourself, or was your wife with you, or were you screaming?
We got to hang out for the first quarter, and that was about it. Then they left because I am a bit of a crazy person when I watch Michigan football.
Now, are you going to try and go to the semifinal game?
Or
are you going to go? Are you waiting for the finals?
Both. So I am not going to go to the Big Ten, but semifinal and finals. I already called in sick to work because we have a meeting during the finals, but they already know. But it was really cool. Our president and VP of Ops, sent me a text. Minutes after the game, they were just impressed with that game. That was football. I know we texted back and forth. That was classic football. Either side. I had a couple of my Ohio State friends, they sent me a message and they said, 100% Michigan deserves that win because that was some college football.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, I'll tell you what, you could have taken that game and it didn't matter whether it was 50 degrees outside, which it was, or whether it was 15 degrees outside. It was just good smash mouth in your face, Big Ten football. It was great to watch. Great theater with I couldn't have been happier to watch Ryan Day go down and that entire Buckeye family go down. That just personal. Just saying. Probably should not let that curtain go by, but being a UM guy, couldn't help it.
Are steaks on the house at all Texas Roadhouse restaurants?
That is a check
you oversee.
Cash. That is for sure.
Right.
Now, I have to ask you: do you wear those overalls out in public?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you gave me the tickets last year, this was part of my outfit.
Well, going to the game, I get it, but you're not going to go to Publix with it.
Why not? Yeah, I was
Oh my God.
you got to be loud and proud.
I love it, man. No, I'm with you. I am absolutely with you.
No shame in my game, Tony. No shame.
No shame in your game. And you let me know if we can help you, if we can figure out a way to help you get tickets, we will figure out a way to help you get tickets.
Absolutely.
That'd be Tony's department exclusively on that, Ed Garcia. Now, what happens at, the holiday, of course, Thanksgiving, everybody porked out. I had a wonderful one. I did go out to dinner on Saturday night, and a lot of people now are getting together. Families are coming to town. What's the scene like at Texas Roadhouse restaurants during this period of time between Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Well, now that we're down in South Florida, that a lot of people are coming in for the winter holidays and staying down here. So it gets busier, which is kind of hard to imagine. So, a couple things I'll tell you about. Number one, don't forget about the mobile app. If you're not into the technology piece, call ahead, get your name on the wait list, pick about an hour before you want to be there, and you do one of the two. And that's going to cut your wait time in half, if not tremendously more, so you can get in. Large parties, I'll be honest, it's a little bit tough, anything larger than 7 because we have a lot of booth seating. So that does take a little bit longer. And then the other big thing that's going off right now is that we do have the holidays coming right up is gift cards.
Oh,
and,
nice.
So I'll tell you, you want basically a way to get 15% off your meal. You can go, or some extra incentives, go into your local Roadhouse, and they're offering a lot of really, really cool deals on gift cards. You can buy them online, okay? But, you buy $50 online, you get $50 online. You go into the store, you get some kickbacks that you can keep for yourself. So I can tell you right now, Lubie will, probably do that and keep all the extra kickback.
And listen, I'm just going to weigh in, and this is completely off of what we normally do. Gift cards, especially like to the Texas Roadhouse or other restaurants. Folks, there are so many people out there that wish they could go to Texas Roadhouse or wish they could go to a fast food place to get food. Not a bad idea to gather some of these gift cards. And when you see someone who needs help and maybe needs some food, not a bad idea to offer them an opportunity to get some really good food in them. And especially this time of year, something special. that I think is not a bad idea. And I think Texas Roadhouse will, again, that type of place where they would open their arms to anybody who comes in and, let's take care of them. Wouldn't you agree with Ed?
Oh, 100%. And, absolutely, reach out to me if there's anything I can do as well. We are a very community driven restaurant. We are all about, making sure that we stand up tall the next day. So let us know what we can do. But that is a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And one of our avid viewers and former media critic and writer himself, he's weirdly enamored by these candles that I didn't even know existed.
Do you have candles? Do you have candles, Ed? What are this talking about?
Yes.
Coconut Creek sell the candles. Does Coconut Creek sell them? Can Jim Sarney get the candles at Coconut?
We sell them online, and I will, Lubie, I'll send you the link to go check it out. You can go to texasroadhouse.com and find it under merchandise, but the candles are out of stock. It was such a huge hit.
What kind of aroma are these candles? Don't tell me they smell like steaks.
That's a fresh baked bread aroma. Yeah.
Honey, cinnamon, butter.
No.
Scented candles.
No.
Yes. Wow, you had some, man.
Ed.
So what I'll do, hey James, reach out to me. I'll give you one of these. I am working in that area this weekend, Thursday and Friday. I'll be driving through there. Tony, it looks like you're in Vermont.
Yes.
Okay, I'll send you one of these to warm you up. Okay.
Yes, please. Please. I'll use it as a Bunsen burner.
Did you set that up with Sarney? I mean, that's a great pre-production. Did Sarney tip you off that he was going to ask for the candles on the show?
And I'll tell you, what's really cool is that we also have peanut brittle. I'll tell you, it's for $4. It's a Texas Roadhouse peanut brittle made with our peanuts. And yesterday, as a matter of fact, I I opened a bag to share, and it didn't happen. So Texas Roadhouse peanut brittle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. I'll tell you what, that is something that is that is old school. This is no joke. I am, my wife and I love peanut brittle. We absolutely love peanut brittle. Yeah. And it's hard to find, good peanut brittle is what it is.
Oh,
right.
Absolutely. So
what made you get into what made you get into that space? Candles.
Well, I think we're just continuing to grow and expand the brand. I mean, we're at 600 Texas Roadhouses, continuing to grow, and I think that's just really one of the next steps. And I absolutely love it. I got to try it in August. We opened up the market, I think, in September, October, and I just went to town and bought a few things. And I was like, man, these will make some really cool Christmas gifts because a lot of people don't know about it yet. So cool ideas. You can find the link on texasroadhouse.com for sure.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to be looking for it. And how's the new venture? Is it called Bubba's? What's the new
Bubba's 33?
Yeah,
check that out.
Anything opening in South Florida?
We're working on Port St. Lucie is the one for South Florida, but we got a couple on the west side. We did Brandon, we have Wesley Chapel, and then Panama City Beach. I know that is happening as well. I'll have to take a look at the real estate report and see, what's coming down the pipeline. But they're growing. They're on fire. We're about 30 plus on that Bubba's. Wow. Really great spot. About, depending on the location, 100 to 200 TVs. Again, super ice cold beer. They use the same thing we do. Awesome burgers made from scratch. Pizza made from scratch. I mean, the dough, kind of how we make the bread. The dough, they start like a couple days prior, right? I mean, it is such a process, but you can taste the difference.
Wow. Awesome. All right, Ed Garcia, we're happy for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, way to go, Ed. All right.
And listen, I am glad you wore your regalia today and you're looking good, bro.
How about the background there? Unbelievable.
Man, he's all set.
Screened. It's fantastic.
I love it.
Go Blue.
Ed Garcia, ladies
Go Blue.
Thanks, Ed.
Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Yeah.
How great was that? How awesome is that?
I love the fact that he had the candles ready to go. I mean, did he know Sarney was going to ask for him on the show?
I thought Sarney was kidding.
Oh,
Sarney's not kidding. No, he's a very serious
guy.
All
the time about these candles. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll ask Ed himself.
All right, sounds good. All right, we have much to cover here. Tony Segreto going old school with us on this Monday.
How cool is this?
It's all great, man.
We could take this show on the damn road.
You never know. I mean, it is on the road because Lubie's going to be gone. The trouble is Lubie has a control panel and he's the only guy that can do this thing at this stage. So we all get a week off, which is great. But I'm glad you could join us today, Tony. Well, we'll get into the NFL and some of the other
How about
things that
them
are going on.
Dolphins, huh? How about them Dolphins?
That was interesting. There was another one with the point spread. Once again,
yeah, McDaniel, I think, is a degenerate because some of the stuff he does.
He tortured us yesterday. I had Houston in my individual bookmaking venture,
Almost
and
covered.
15.5, and they lose by 16.
Wow.
There were 3 games working in the late afternoon. I
Yeah,
needed Kansas City to cover 15 and a hook. I guess it was, the line on the Dolphin game was like 14.5, so we just missed it, whatever. But nonetheless, and I'm watching the scoreboard only. I couldn't see these games. The Seahawks Raiders game.
Yeah.
So I'm laying 4 in that game, and it's Seahawks by 7. And on this thing I'm following it on, it shows like no time left in the game.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the Chargers came back, tied the game, and then that was the Seahawks were playing.
No, wait a minute. They're playing
the Raiders. They were playing the Raiders. The Raiders tied a game in the last second, and then win it in overtime on a touchdown. So, but that one was up in smoke anyway because I would have needed a touchdown to cover that one. And then the other game, what was the
Cardinals?
The Cardinals game against the Chargers. And Arizona's winning that game all the way. And last second, the Chargers tie it up. And I'm thinking, thank God Brandon Staley is coaching because I know he's going to go for 2 here. Either try and win it or lose right there in the last play. It's not going to go to overtime. I'm getting 3 with Arizona. And so before the play even happens, you're screaming, yeah! Even though you just got caught from behind there. And sure enough, the fact that he was going for 2 meant that you couldn't miss against the points.
I'll pull the curtain back in the Segreto family. Soon after the Philly game last night, I get a text from my daughter. She goes, "Road trip home necessities: Philly pretzel and a big cup of hot chocolate." So
for sure.
Yeah, she did the Phillies game, the Eagles game, and then her and her team drove back to NBC in Stamford, Connecticut. So.
I had a quasi Philly pretzel in the airport at Atlantic City when I was leaving there. I couldn't resist it. Definitely, a must. And even in the airport, you can get a good one.
You know who sells Philly pretzels that are really? You're not in Philly, okay? Yeah. So, but they sell Philly pretzels as Wawa.
Is that right? Oh yeah, they do.
On a big day for Eagles for fans, that you can't find a Philly pretzel at any Wawa in any town that you're in. It's amazing, incredible.
Yeah, it's not quite the same though.
No, not quite the same.
Philadelphia, that's for sure.
Right.
All right, we're coming back with more with Tony Segreto. Tony and Old School also brought to you by another fine organization, Catholic Health Services. We'll tell you more about them in a moment. We'll get into the Dolphin game and the
Ohio State fans may have needed them.
Yeah, and we, I don't know what thoughts you have on the World Cup. I've kind of tuned that out a little bit after watching a lot of poor games.
I hate to say this. I was telling my wife,
it really hasn't done much for me this year at all.
Everything that's going on with college football and the NFL,
tough to get into it.
And my responsibilities within that framework, I just can't get. It's like I can't. Like tomorrow, am I going to spend 90 minutes watching the game? Yeah. I got other things I need to get done.
It's hard to detach yourself from the other sporting events that are going on.
And I don't. This is not meant
as
a
game. Yeah.
This is not meant as a disrespect because those guys are.
It's okay
remarkable.
To disrespect it. No, they're good athletes.
We hate soccer.
How about this story though, Tony? Here's a big one here. I don't know if you can see the headline, but this has been rumored for some time or theorized about that Messi was going to sign with the Inter Miami. MLS entry at 35 years old, and now that looks like it's coming true.
Yeah, exactly. Who would have thought? And how about Lou Fickle?
What does that do for Miami? You think? I mean, that doesn't. You have a large, you have a reasonable Argentine presence here. Obviously, fans love Messi. He's one of the greatest players of all time, no question. He's 35. Is it like signing George Best with the Strikers?
Yes, it is. It is. It's the same thing. We're getting guys who can't play anywhere else because they're getting older and the competition is different. And if it sparks enough interest where you sell more tickets, then yay, good for them.
Well, I would think it would have to, but for some people to look at.
In long term, again, while it's the spark you talked about. it'll give it a spark, but can they maintain the flame with people wanting to come back if it's a bad product? They're only going to come out and see Messi 1 or 2 times, but if it's a bad product, they're not going to come back.
An aging Messi with a bunch of guys that would be considered amateurs by comparison to
exactly.
Some of the guys that he's been playing against on the international scene.
Exactly.
All right, we're coming back with more with Tony Segreto, and we'll continue here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and the soon-to-be vacationing Mike Lubie Lubitz, which if Lubie's on vacation, we're all on vacation.
Yeah. Hey, Lubie, come on in.
How does that work, Tony? When you were on vacation from NBC, they had somebody else come in there, whoever the second guy was, right?
Like
Here's Ned Smith,
they didn't go off the air. They didn't go off the air. Now you get to sing that great Hawaiian, the Bing Crosby Hawaiian Christmas song.
There you go.
Tiny Bubbles, yeah.
Not Tiny Bubbles.
Wasn't it?
Many Kalina Kana or something like that.
Oh, yeah. We have a version of that.
Oh,
do we still have that?
Yeah, but you got to play that.
He lost it somewhere. I don't know what happened. I haven't heard it. That should have been playing every week on the show here. It was done an original
all
version
I know
by Jersey Kyle.
Regardless of if I made the arrangements or not, if I'm going to Hawaii, I want to know where the heck I'm going. I want to know what island I'm going.
Would you know where you were going? I mean, have you been there? I've never been there, Hawaii.
I've been, yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's absolutely.
Does it matter where you go?
I wouldn't. Honolulu is just crowded for me. But we went to Maui. I mean, some of the offsetting islands. I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's spectacular. It's
I'm picturing pineapple on a shish kebab. No, is that grilled pineapple? Is that what you're going to be?
Yeah, and if Lubie gets a pizza with pineapple on it, you should kill him.
My hand really likes that. I can't eat it.
That's really a stretch there. Yeah. Kind of like the spaghetti with the black squid ink. I could live without that.
That's wait a minute.
That's an Italian thing. I know. That's an Italian thing. All right, we're coming back with more with Tony Segreto. More old school in a moment. Now that.
The time.
At 7:48. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
We've finally found some fulfillment here on this program as we're sending 2 families to professional wrestling, and we had that kid skip school to get the tickets to the Dolphin game. We feel like we're reaching a measure of distinction here. Now, there's no more distinguished guy in South Florida broadcasting history than the man who joins us next, and that is Tony Segreto. We go old school with Tony Segreto.
He makes charitable work, his life work, so he's mocking us now for what we are proud of, our endeavor.
I am not mocking. I am not. I'm not mocking you. I just don't even know how to respond to that because I would not have expected anything less than that kind of intro today. When I heard that gentleman win the tickets to the wrestling and that he's taking his children, I saw the wheels. I saw the comedy writer in Defoe's head, like trying to write as fast as he could, just to figure out what's next.
I have to write
that's
everything
really
down now,
funny.
Tony, because I can't remember my own name. It's written here on a sheet, the Defo Show.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto.
Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, the soon-to-be vacationing Mike Lubie, the always vacationing and yet always busy with work, Tony Segreto.
I'm a busy man. I got interviews stacked up all day today.
All right. Now it's interesting because, this messy thing reminded me of when I first moved here. You had the Dolphins. Schnelly was just getting the Hurricanes rolling. He hadn't won his first national championship yet. They were on the precipice of becoming a great team, but nobody really knew for sure if that was going to happen. Their season would end, and I remember thinking, well, geez, I mean, who's the UM basketball coach? And then I found out they didn't have basketball at the time at the University of Miami, and the only other entity in town that was getting any coverage was the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, who the PR department was led by the great Chip Namias, who, made it a personal effort. He was very good at what he did. He eventually became the PR guy for the Dolphins. Of course, was with Houston for many, many years, among other PR jobs that he had. But he would go out of his way to and was overly accommodating about even encouraging you to, hey, you want me to get like, Jan Van Beveren to call your show or something, and you want some Bronco Segota cuts. But is that going to happen again? I mean, what do you think? I mean, will people kind of give quasi coverage to this? I guess the MLS is a little more established than
I don't know.
I would be recognizing of because I don't follow it, and the league is definitely it's still here and it's expanded. I don't know what kind of interest the team drew, but this messy play all of a sudden, you were involved in this for so many years. Do all of the TV stations now make it a must to cover these games and get some messy?
Well, first of all,
every game.
We got to rewind here because the Chip Namiases of the world, they don't exist. I don't know if they exist anymore. I mean,
that could be true. There might be a few
PR folks that were just on top of it like that. Whether it was Harvey Green, whether it was God bless the soul of Larry Wall, guys like that. The very first, even Charlie Callahan, the very first PR director for the Dolphins, George Gillette, the guy I worked with when I first started, again, an older gentleman. They were just as accommodating as they could be because you know what? They knew that when they won, they didn't have to do anything, that
Right.
we would be knocking down their door. But they also knew when they lost, they needed a friend and they needed to knock down our door. And they needed to understand that. And that's where I think that we kind of forget with some of our PR people where we are. When you continue to get pushback like, oh, I'm not going to return their phone call, or there's no way I can get them. That is like, come on, you can't find 5 minutes. And this is an area where you recruit if it's a college game, or this is an area where you sell tickets, whether it's soccer or professional. 5 minutes, those 5 minutes could bring you another 100 tickets. And if you don't want another 100 tickets, fine. But I don't know where the MLS is going to fit into this scheme. Let's talk about how many different renditions of soccer we had here in South Florida. And the only one that really made it were the Strikers. And that's because they had a character. I mean, do you agree or disagree? The Toros?
Well, I mean, I was surprised when I first came here how much attention that they gathered. I don't remember. I mean, their games were on the radio. Rick Weaver was calling the games.
I mean, and they had
Hank,
characters.
I think, was doing color on soccer, if you can imagine.
They had from Ray Hudson to, I mean.
Ray was a great interview anytime and still would be today.
Still is today. And they made you, you know what they did? They had clubs. They had, striker clubs. So there was a striker club bar in Fort Lauderdale where all the Striker fans would go show up, or they'd get free beer or free burgers. They would do something with whatever they could do to attract them.
They were in the community too. It was kind of like the early stages of the Florida Panthers.
And early
didn't know if
stages.
hockey was going to sell.
Yeah, and early stages of the Dolphins. Getting our guys in the community, like we've said over and over again. Whether you go to the cleaners or your local grocery store, you'd run into Zonka and Kick and Warfield and all those guys. And so, a long answer to what should have been a short answer is I don't know if the MLS is going to make it. I don't know if it'll fit the
You mean here? I think it's.
I don't know if it'll make it here. I don't know if it'll make it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll make it here. I really don't. Our landscape is so different.
$1 billion stadium going up, or whatever that is, $20 billion stadium.
Yeah, we also have $1 million stadium in where the old Orange Bowl site that you can't get 12 people to watch a baseball game.
Well, and I would say this, and not to mean this in a personal sense, we got a little more cooperation from these guys, and while we were the flagship station than we did at other times. But to tell you the truth, I mean, for the most part, it's almost like you were asking to have the guy drain his bank account and send it to you when you were calling for an interview for like Miggy Rojas or something.
Agreed.
The Marlins over the years, throughout the years, by and large, have had some of the worst PR people I've ever experienced in my many years of doing this.
Yeah, and we'll get back to you. Well, months later, did you lose my phone number? How hard is it to find it?
I mean, they're in a position where they should be begging you to do anything, to try and publicize the team in a positive light or whatever, or even talk about it, and spew nothing but expletives.
There is all of these people, and I'm going to be brutally honest. They think there's this cachet they have because they're PR people for a major league team.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There is cachet with a major league team, but there's a lot of cachet with there isn't much cachet with a major league team that can't get more than 12 people into a game. So,
it is an extremely cooperative media base here in South Florida.
Extremely. And
people are for the most part, I would say it's highly positive by compared to any other city.
There is not when you and I were in our prime, okay? There were some media people.
I don't know, Tony. You're far from past your prime here. Look at you. You look great, kid.
Thank you. There are still some media people. There were media people in that grouping that you watched out for. That if I'm a player or an owner or a coach, if I'm being interviewed by that person, I better be on my toes. There were some people that you looked out for. Today, there's not a harm. There's no one harmful. There's no one that's going to, and even the people who write today, that pen isn't as mighty as it used to be. And
well, I'll give you a good example. Lubie tried a zillion times. I mean, and we used to get nothing but overwhelming cooperation from the University of Miami. I mean, Schnelly was all about this, and the people who followed him certainly were very much in that same mold. We tried all year to get Mario Cristobal to give us 10 minutes on the show. Now it's not like he doesn't know us. I mean, obviously, I was involved in the coverage there when Mario was a player, and then I've had some contact with him, very limited. I mean, certainly waned over the years, but I mean, I would think that he would be aware of our shows and all of that. Never got a response. Nothing.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's a shame.
Yeah,
it's just there's what can you say? I mean,
and that's a college team that's staggering at the gate, staggering.
Yeah,
trying to reestablish its identity, been trying to recapture this feeling that they had 20 years ago for the last 2 decades, and is really struggling to establish its identity again. Goes out of its way to do all of these moves, and then lies flat. I mean, just lays an egg when it comes to publicizing the team. I think. I mean, not because the guy didn't do our show, but I didn't see a lot of Mario Cristobal interviews anywhere.
I think I think toward the end, I think the last half of the season, in Mario's defense, and again, I'm thinking when you're buried like that, when you're having a kind of
all the more reason to come out and say, hey, man, we're going to fix this or whatever. The usual coach rhetoric that goes along with a losing season.
Listen, I didn't ask for any interviews this year, and what I'm working on is totally different, where you kind of need to.
Well, you got a different thing going there. I mean, if the Orange Bowl calls a coach like Saban, he's going to say yes. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah. In fact, I'm doing one-on-ones with the coaches that we name on Sunday. So I'm doing interviews with them. So yeah, you're right.
So you might be sitting down again with Nick.
Oh, 100%.
It could be with Nick again.
Will you relay some of our thoughts that we've conveyed on the show about Nick, or will you just
Nick will remember me very vividly. Nick knows who Nick.
be like the announcers in Qatar who never mentioned other stadium got built.
I was many a night with Nick at God bless Wayne's house, and
Oh yeah.
Is that right? Oh wow.
Yeah.
You're Mr. Big, Tony. That's what I love about you, and you're very humble about it. I mean, Hank used to always get ripped for being a name dropper. I had lunch today with Anwar Sadat. It's like, okay, great. I had lunch with Lubie. I mean, what do you want me to say? It was
and Michael Mayo,
just the same as you. Mayo, this is interesting, and it happened to me on Saturday night. This is great, Tony. You'll love this. And we have to talk about Catholic Health Services as well. But anyway, it turns out Saturday night is the wedding anniversary of the Mustang and I, or me, and so I wanted to try this new restaurant. It's not a new restaurant. It's been around for a long time. It was in a different location. Turns out it's been in this location for about 4 years, but it looks like nothing on the outside. It's next to one of those stores that looks like, it's a card trading store that looks to be about as burnt out as the triple X-rated video store that has a drive-through that's just up the street. So you're looking at it's not an overwhelmingly appealing appearance to this restaurant. It's not like you're thinking, wow, we got to go there when you pass by. So I heard nothing but great things about it. The food, you would like it. It's like real genuine Italian from like Tuscany type of food. And I'd have to say it measured up on all counts. But we get seated. It's a small room. And I look up, and what's on the wall? A picture of Mike Mayo. Just hovering over our table and a review of the restaurant. So, which and the guy they loved him there. They obviously he must have said favorable things, or you wouldn't be hanging a review up there. If you said the place wasn't worth a shit, I doubt they would have popped a review on the wall there. But and most places I would think some places might have an effigy hanging of Mayo, but there he was, a young Mayo. Smiling down on the Mustang and me as we ate our anniversary dinner.
I love Michael, but having Mayo smile down on you and the Mustang on your anniversary dinner,
you can't dodge this guy.
It's that's a little intrusive. That's like a party of three for your. That's like
it was weird. It really was. It was kind of strange. Like especially since I have to say though, Mayo did trigger a great weekend when his tip horse came through and paid $20 and keyed like a $500 ticket for me. That kind of made my weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, and most tips don't necessarily come through like that, but Mayo had some very reliable information straight from the barn. It was great, and he gave it out early in the morning. All right, Tony, Catholic Health Services. Obviously, we don't wish anybody to have incurred poor health, strokes, things like that, but it happens.
It does.
And, you're going to have to try and do your best to recover as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and try to come back to 100% of what you were. Catholic Health Services, the best at that.
Listen, we are being inundated on TV with what's wrong with us every day, every commercial. What is wrong with us? Do we have this? Do we have that? Do we have this? Do we have that? And as we all get older, now we start becoming hypochondriacs. Oh my gosh, what is this? What is this? Why am I feeling?
My friend Big Al thought he had Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
He had like a mosquito bite, and he said, "Do you feel that? It's a lump."
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, people get paranoid. And again, just offhanded, real quick. The great Jeff Foxworthy, does this routine where his wife is like getting inundated with these commercials and is getting impacted by all of them, and she says, "I think I have this," and he goes, "There's no way you could have testicular cancer." So, that's the point. People, you start believing you have all these things when you don't. The point is that, God forbid, you do need rehab. God forbid you do suffer whatever it is, a bad hip, a shoulder, a knee. And really, when you get a stroke, there's only one place to go, and that's Catholic Health Services. I mean, exactly, Libby. You put up that number one. That's what it's about. This is the number one place for stroke rehab. It's not just that. It's for your hip and your knee and your whatever the case is, they're going to get you up and around quicker than you ever could have imagined, with people who not only care about what they do and know about what they're doing, but they do it with an expertise that is unmatched. They do it with a compassion that's unmatched. They do it and they make you feel like you're the only patient. They make you feel like you're the only family, and the entire family's involved every step of the way. We hear so many weird things and negative things about it's taking 9 months to get in to see this doctor, 2 years to get in to see this doctor, this and this and this. If you have an issue, if you have questions, do I get this booster or not? Do I get a booster and flu at the same time? Do I need the flu? Do I need just one of them right now? There are a lot of questions that I don't know. Do you? Do you all know the answer? No. So you can even call Catholic Health Services and say, listen, I heard Tony Segreto and Old School with Deforest and Lubie on talking about Catholic Health Services. I have some questions. Can you help me out? And you know what? They will. They'll help you out right there. So if you have anything in mind, please, they're in this community for a reason. They do it every day. We call it step and repeat, 24/7. They take care of you with an expertise and a caring that is unmatched. Catholic Health Services.
Real good at what they do. And as we often stress, the communication factor is extraordinary with the Catholic Health Services. And it really is. I mean, very soothing to, deal with people that actually want to, as you say, answer your questions and will even offer information that's helpful to you.
Because it's confusing.
Dealing with this sort of thing.
I went to get my booster, and I was going to get a flu shot with it. And the person I went to see, they looked at me and they said,
double dose.
Probably you should just do one. Pick the one you want. We'll do it now, and then you can come back in 2 weeks.
Which one did you get?
The other one. I got the booster.
Yeah, I go there.
I'm not a big fan of flu shots. Every time I've gotten a flu shot, which it's been a long time, I ended up getting sick.
Yeah.
Always. I don't like the flu.
The COVID thing, I definitely wanted as much COVID medication as I could, but I haven't gone for the super duper boosters that they have out there lately. Although, if you see what's going on in China, you're thinking, let's.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. In fact, I was 2 weeks. 2 weeks last Tuesday. I was.
All right, very good, Tony. Well, you look healthy. You look great.
Great, sir.
You look fantastic, kid. And I know you enjoyed this weekend thoroughly, and
it was great.
You're super enthusiastic about all of the college stuff. We appreciate you, changing your schedule to accommodate us here on a Monday. And
as soon as I find out,
soon to be vacationing Mike Lubie Lubitz.
I will be on. I'll be on a conference call with the college football playoffs on Tuesday afternoon at 4:00. And once I hear what's going on, then I'll
breaking news right here. Beautiful, Tony.
Absolutely.
All right, and Tony, of course, brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, Catholic Health Services. You saw Ed Garcia. I was wondering, did he green screened himself somehow? That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Over the Michigan logo?
He has it out every week, I think. He just this week chose Michigan instead of living room.
Plus, Jim Sarney gets to get his candles, for goodness sake. Thank you, gosh.
How about Sarney schnorring for goods on our show? Unbelievable. I love that.
Jesus. Yeah. Come on, Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy.
Bring for some candles, man.
Quit trolling. If you're going to troll for something, troll for a steak and not a damn candle.
Sarney's very good, though, about,
I love
birthdays
Jimmy.
and things like that.
Can I tell you something? Jim was one of the best writers we've had in South Florida.
Yeah.
He was just good at what he did.
We had a sports section back then.
Yeah, we did. We had and just a good man, and honored that he listens and watches us in the morning. So
yeah, it's a shame, really. I mean, good sports writing. I enjoyed writing sports when I was a sports writer.
I can't think of a guy. I can't think of a good sports. Michelle Kaufman, I love. I think she does a nice job.
There are good people still in the business. It's amazing, but.
Dave Hyde,
There's nothing like a good sports section. I mean, I know you, think it's weird that I'm all involved with this New York Post, but at least it's a good sports section every day.
I do not think it's weird because
I
don't think there's a good sports section. There's not a good South Florida sports section. Sure.
No, nothing. There's nothing in there. It's terrible. Although these guys do want to bury you. The handicapper for Action Sports. I mean, if he still has a job after this weekend. It's incredible to me. He tells you that Nebraska can't possibly score a point against Iowa. They win the game outright, 24-something, and they were getting like a ton of points, 10 points in that game. He recommended that they were going to, or said that they were going to get completely blown out. And then he liked Vanderbilt in their game. Who'd they lose to? Tennessee, like 52 to nothing, something like that. And he's telling you to bet them because they were in there with a shot. I mean, if you heard a gunshot go off in the offices of Action Sports, it had to be this guy.
It had to be, yeah, exactly.
Handicapping college football for him. But how did he come back the next day after just a bludgeoning and make no mention of it? And just go.
See,
okay,
that's when you handle it with a joke. Say, listen, man, did I blow it?
Yeah, you could be wrong about a game. You could even be completely wrong. I mean, it happens. But to have all of this logic every single time, just get completely
I would never have picked
debunked.
Vanderbilt to beat Tennessee ever. Not.
Well, I guess they were getting a lot of points, obviously, but they ended up losing by 52 points. I mean, and this guy has to walk around and live with himself after he just buried America, but with yet another lame selection. And that was coming off his Nebraska dissertation, where he said very eloquently explained how Nebraska will not score in their game against Iowa.
And they win.
He recommended that you take under 13.5 for the game of total points by Nebraska. They won by like 10 in a runaway.
I love Nebraska's selection for a new head
coach. Rule. I mean, it's a great move.
And I love
Wisconsin. And Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin.
Yeah, Fickell going to Wisconsin. I think that's big too. I think that's huge.
Is that? I mean, how big of a step up is that for him? He was in the Final Four last year at
Cincinnati.
Yeah,
Cincinnati's not.
It's all. This is big time. Yeah, this is. Listen, plus you're following legends in Wisconsin. My goodness gracious, I think this is a big time for him. Good for him. Good man. Good coach. I think he's going to do really well there.
All right, we'll see what happens. He did a great job at Cincy. All right, Tony, we love you, man. Have a great week. We'll see you next week in your usual slot there, a week from Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lubie, I hope you know. Let us know where you are in Hawaii.
I'll let you know. We're trying to settle into this freaking house. That's been one of my.
And do me a favor. No Maui Wowie, baby.
I mean, probably a lot.
Come on, Tony. What are you talking about?
It's
the first move. You go right down to the beach there and find some guy with a pineapple on his head. Ask him if you can buy some weed.
Why do you think I need to be off?
You know what? I would look up Don Nelson.
Exactly.
Or Willie Nelson. Anybody named Nelson in Hawaii has got their own pot farm. Come on, Tony.
Hello. We love you, Segreto, man.
If you were ever going to smoke weed, you're going to do it in Hawaii.
You're going to do it. Exactly.
You're going to go to Acapulco and not, see if you can't find a little gold. And I'm not talking about like with a metal detector on the beach.
Okay. We've totally lost control. We love you, man. Thank you, Lubie. Thanks for getting me on this morning. Guys, have a great
You're a great American, Tony. We love you.
Give Johnny Congemi my best. He's a good man.
Johnny C coming up here in a few minutes on the show. All right. Tony Segreto, ladies and gentlemen. That was fun. See, I've forgotten that you said this was going to happen today, and I actually went through like a lot of preparation for this show. Wow. Preparation H is what I went through. No, I did. I mean, it was a pretty easy, it would have been an easy wing job with all of that football that took place over the weekend. And, we're not even talking about some of the other sports that are on the map right now, which is why I think, for the, sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a casual fan, the occasional fan is more like it, of soccer. I would watch a little more of this World Cup. I have it on here, and they just had like a shootout. They just had like the Marino O'Brien game with the Cameroon. Was involved, and they played Serbia, Lubie.
Okay.
And it was like I was making my usual negative commentary to myself. Oh, look at that! 35 minutes in, 1-0, and then before you know it, it was like 3-1, and it became 3-3. I don't know how the game ended up, but so that was, I mean, considerable. When you were looking at some of these other games, which, for the most part have been dreadful. I would say this, too. Is it a fair statement? Because people always like to make the comparison to hockey and say, and Mayo did this, he fell right into this trap, which I don't think there is any real. There's a comparison in that they're both low-scoring games. Now, why are they low-scoring games? If basketball only awarded 1 point for a basket and a half a point for a free throw, your games would be ending in the 50s. Okay, and everybody go, oh my God, this is dreadful. If football awarded only 1 point for a touchdown and a half a point for a field goal, the final scores will be like 3.5 to 2. So I mean, and everybody go, oh my God, I mean, can you believe there's no scoring in this game? So I mean, all they need to do is award like 7 points for every goal, and they would solve that problem. But there's no pressure most of the like if you're watching hockey, the puck is under pressure at all times.
Yep.
All times, even if they're just scruffing against the boards there, trying to kick it out with a skate. There's pressure constantly at the point of attack, so to speak, which is wherever the puck happens to be. Whereas in soccer, they spend like a good portion of the time doing nothing. I mean, just goofing around there in the middle of the field, and then the kickback to the goalie is the one that gets me. Where you finally move the ball a half an inch forward after 16 different passes, and then after all of that, you just kick it back to the goalie, and he kicks it right back to the same spot. So what was the point? There's just not a ton of pressure going on at all times, and almost all plays end in futility.
Yes.
That's the other thing. You rarely gain anything. A guy will do a dynamite job. I mean, masterful, controlling the ball, dribbling through 6 guys, and then he runs into a guy and he gets conked in the head, and they throw a yellow card up. All the other stuff, I mean, and have you ever seen more exasperation than you do during a soccer game? That tells you all you need to know also. The fans, they're exasperated. The players, they're exasperated. The coaches, what are they yelling about?
Nothing happens. They just yell.
They're just yelling like maniacs, motioning like crazy people. Like all of a sudden they're Eric Spoelstra with 2 seconds left against San Antonio. And there's nothing happening. It's a study in the human condition, I believe, and how we really like to make a big deal. It's very Shakespearean. Much ado about nothing. I believe Shakespeare was a soccer fan. What do you think? He wrote one play about hedging, and the other one, much ado about nothing, had to be about soccer. No,
well, it is true. Like, and I love Mayo, and I like soccer more than you do, especially the World Cup. But
yeah,
like, there's no.
But I would catch a little of it. I've done it in the past when it was on in the summertime. And I've tried to watch a bunch of it, to see if I could figure out what it is that fascinates people about the game. There's not much happening most of the time.
4 scoring chances again. That's goals. Screw goals. 4 scoring.
Why don't they pull the goalie too at the end of the game when the team's down? No one scores anyway. You really need a guy there in front of the net? No. Wouldn't you be better off sending another guy out on the field there to attack? Because when a team loses a guy to a red card is an ejection.
Yes.
And then you play with. I like the fact you don't replace the guy. You play without him for the rest of the game. God forbid 2 guys should be eliminated, right? Can you go like 9? I think so. I'm not sure. But I mean, there's just too much time spent in total and utter futility.
Yep.
Where everybody, and you can see it on everybody's face. They're all exasperated because they're wondering, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm a great athlete. I mean, look, they can run all day. Sometimes you're in the 80th minute and you'll see 2 guys sprinting for a ball and you're like, wow, where do they muster up the ability to generate this kind of speed? And they'll run for 25, 30 yards as if it was Jerry Rice going down the field, against Lester Hayes or something. But then nothing happens. That's it. Ball bounces off a guy in the back of his head and it goes out of bounds. And, some guy picks it up and throws it back in. And they're all just standing around again. Nuts. But had it been in the summertime, I mean, could you have fucked this up any more than FIFA did with the bribery and all of this stuff? I mean, it's insane what they're doing. And I guess the rest of the world doesn't care, right? Because they don't care about American football or college football.
Basketball.
Yeah. Although, I mean, you wouldn't necessarily know it from the success of these games that are played in European countries, no? Especially, I don't know, why do these people turn out in England? If they like soccer, how could you possibly look at American football as anything but a joke? Much like we're looking at their game, just a joke. All right. Anyway, there's action going on right now. They're only 20 minutes in. It's nothing. Ghana. And is Zuma Nelson playing for Ghana? I'm not sure. He was their most famous athlete, the great Zuma Nelson, the professor, as he was known. And Korea going at it. So far, Japan, the best hair. I say they win the thing, right? Team with the best hair wins. Used to be like Valderrama, had the best hair.
Oh, yeah, with the best.
Right. And all of those guys, Brazilian, right?
Yes.
They had great hair. The Japanese guys, there are no ball guys on the Japanese team. Did you notice that, Lubie? They don't have a single ball guy.
They all have nice hair, and they'll be older with good hair.
And then they dye it they put whatever that is, they end up becoming blonde or whatever, and that looks really good on a Japanese guy, especially if he's like a good looking guy to begin with. Always a little freaky.
Yep.
Best hair, Japan. And that's the team. Did they have a shot, Lubie? I don't know. Are they out of it already? I'm not even sure.
Andy said there's 3 guys on Ghana not playing because they're too busy scamming your Facebook profile.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of guys there, have information and a line on how you can get your rich uncle's money. But you didn't know you had that. Just happened to be living in Nigeria for a while.
Exactly.
What the hell is going on out there? It's unbelievable.
Oh my God.
All right, the Korean's not far behind with the hair department.
There
All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. John Congemi going to join us. I got to tell you about Hialeah Park, man. It's going to be festive there for the holidays. You got the Larry Little banquet coming up. I want to say it's got to be a week from. Is it this Friday? It might be this Friday.
That would be annoying because I'm gonna have to miss it. And I love going to that thing.
I'm going to have to check with Frank Fiore here and get the details on that. Of course, Gurgles would have that. And Tony's the MC. Well, I'll check with Tony. Ask him when that banquet is because we want to get in on that. Although you may not be in town, Libby. I think it might be this Friday. It could be the week after. Anyway, they always have great things going on at Hialeah Park. And, of course, the Larry Little golf tournament is always a big thing over at Shula's Golf Course. We have a great time whenever we're participating in any of the festivities associated with that. It's kind of the theme of Hialeah Park, always doing charitable stuff and raising a lot of money in the community. That's the kind of people they are, and that's the way they run their business, and that's the way they've been doing business for years and years and years and years. It's just absolutely fantastic, the community spirit of Hialeah Park, and it's kind of like a family casino. It really is. I mean, it's great. People are winning big jackpots there, and they applaud that. They're not, sitting there going, "Hey, Charlie, you better redo these machines." It doesn't work that way at Hialeah Park. They're happy to see you walk out a winner. Somebody took down about 87,000 just the other day on one of the Royal Reel machines, which are very plentiful there, and obviously very popular. Big jackpots being paid, and wow, it's just a great place. The good vibe in the casino is a pleasant change and a real departure from when you get in a lot of casinos, especially when it comes to playing the machines. They have all your favorite Vegas-style games, great simulcasting in the Champion Simulcasting Room, and a terrific poker program and poker room as well. That's all happening at beautiful Hialeah Park. Make your plans to be there, and always festive stuff happening over the holidays, and a lot of great opportunities for dining as well at their many fine restaurants, all at reasonable prices. Check out the website, hialeahpark.com, or their Facebook page. Become a Facebook friend and find out about all the great rewards and amenities that you were accorded for being a player's card carrier at beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. John Congemi going to join us in just a few minutes here. We'll go a little Pigskin Playbook with John. Obviously, a lot of stuff happening. His Pittsburgh team, his trepidations and concerns about Pittsburgh turned out to be wildly unfounded, did they not?
Yeah, especially with the Canes.
I think he was just being careful, John, because, didn't want to have like one of those egg pizzas on his face at the end of the ball game. I don't know. He had his concerns about what was happening, and I think all season long people were waiting for the Hurricanes to actually look like something that might be happening sometime in the future, which they never did at any time this year. I mean, are they going to completely transform all of the players? I mean, how's that going to work, Libby?
He's going to revamp. Look, it's what Norvell did when he came in. Is he turned the roster over immediately, and Cristobal didn't. And now you're seeing mass transfers, and it was like, to me, why didn't he do that last year? Yeah. If he was going to keep these kids and think that they could win,
how did he not know they didn't have any talent?
It's not about talent. They have talent. Yeah. It's their talent fitting his system. That's a real thing. The problem is, I blame him for not doing it earlier. He did it a year late. That's on him. That's not anyone else's fault.
I actually think that the most disappointing aspect of the Hurricane football season with a losing record, no bowl qualification, was that the coaching staff wasn't able to have this team improve during the course of the season.
They never got
or
better.
Show any signs of life. I mean, they got shellacked. They were out of both of their late season games there. Clemson against meaningful opponents. Clemson and Pittsburgh. They were out of those games before halftime.
They had six. And they only played 12 games, and they had one of the easiest schedule. They played 3 G5/FCS teams. 3, okay?
Yeah.
One they got demolished.
Middle Tennessee State was just life and death to beat FIU.
And the other teams in conference, they got the cake route. They played VT, they played Virginia, who were horrendous this year. They had 6 blowout losses, 6 in one of the easiest schedules.
And they never looked like they knew what they were doing. They never sustained anything. Even at winning at Virginia was when they won 14-12 in overtime. It was a horrible game. I mean, just ugly, almost unwatchable swill. And they were never exciting at any time this year, were they? I mean, they never gave you the feeling, wow, this is really coming together. And finished the season with a giant thud. My God. I mean, just a swan dive into the La Brea tar pits where, you're not coming up to surface for air for a long, long time. Oh, man, this shit's thick. Unbelievable. But that was part. I mean, it was a very enjoyable the college football and even the pro games on Thanksgiving Day. That was a lot of fun. We didn't really get to talk about them very much, but very entertaining all the way through. That Detroit game was good.
That Bills game was freaking annoying. Yeah. The Lions had that stupid game. Yeah. God damn it.
Well, and that's also the unfortunate flaw and failing of a team that's not very good. Is I don't know that you want to use the cliche. They have to learn how to win, but closing out games. If you were a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, you couldn't possibly give them any kind of a shot to win the championship this year, which a lot of people wanted to accord them that consideration as a possible AFC champion, but they can't close out games. As evidenced wow, you talk about a giant exclamation point on an otherwise real poor job of doing that this season. How do you lose to Jacksonville? Jacksonville, this was an interesting stat. I think I have it right. They were 0-170, Lubie.
Oh, Jesus.
When trailing by 7 points with a minute or less to go in a ballgame. As a franchise, that's impossible, isn't it? I mean, aren't you at least driving at some point to win a game late in the ball game when they had Mark Brunell and they had some good teams? When trailing by 7 points or more in the final minute of a game, entering the final minute of a game, they were 0-170 until yesterday. Oh, they're now 1-170. It's like Kyle Schwarber's batting average. Exactly. 170 strikeouts, but that one was a 700-foot home run. Holy Dave Kingman. All right, coming back with John Congemi, a little Pigskin Playbook. Dateline Dolphins. That's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. I'm Jeff DeForest. He's Mike Lubitz. We continue kind of a real hybrid edition of the Defo Show on this Monday. In a moment, now that.
The time.
It's 8:28.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
Dateline Dolphins with John Congemi, and that's brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill in the Keys, and we're looking very much forward to doing some broadcasts there. I think we're going to head down there like once a month during the football season. I have to ask you this, and feel free to, not necessarily spill the beans from a personal standpoint to your good friend Dan Marino. Does he experience, or did he ever experience nightmares about handing the ball off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that one year when Jimmy insisted on running the ball on every play. And it was always, I mean, the announcer, I think it was Ron St. John was a stadium announcer back then, and you could hear him say, hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 2nd and 9. Hand off to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1, 3rd and 8. Did he ever talk about that?
He's never really talked about that, Defo. But you're right. I think they did have that on loop at whatever the stadium was called at that time.
It was 1 yard every time. And it was a generous 1 yard they were giving him statistically.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're trying to squeeze in as much as we can here and milk it for all it's worth as Lubie is turning his back on us and going to Hawaii with his lovely wife, Shirley. On her recommendation, she claims that he's fetching about it, that he really doesn't want to go, which, you can get flagged on intent in a relationship. Intent means a lot. It may not hold up in court, but
I'm just tired.
Definitely means a lot in a relationship. Anyway, so he's going to be traveling. John Congemi is going to join us right now here. John, very busy and managed to rearrange a few things to accommodate us today so we could get his thoughts in during the week here since we're only working the 1 day this week. And joins us not on the visual, but on the phone lines. And it's always a pleasure, brought to you by Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, to welcome to the show. Outstanding football analyst, just a great guy and an all-around All-American good person. The great John Congemi joins us here on the show. John, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, and I'm sure both of you guys know this, but sometimes that intent is intentional. So,
well, yeah, of course it is. But we have that clip. I mean, it's true. I mean, a woman will blame you for your intent and say that you didn't want to do any of this. You really didn't want to go, and then you're in the same doghouse, even though you went to whatever it was, to the in-laws,
doesn't matter,
to the dinner or the movie.
Vicious circle.
Yeah, you can't win. It's the old thing about Rocky Balboa. You can't win, Rock. These was good fighters. All right. Your concerns were unfounded, it turned out, John Congemi. Your Pittsburgh game. Congratulations.
I know.
What'd you think?
Unbelievable. I didn't have that game at 28-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
With the Canes
Neither did Mario Cristobal, although that's the way it's been going, man.
No, he might have known. He might have known something. Man, the way that I only caught a little bit of the second half, but man, it was a bad performance by the Canes and a pretty good one, I guess, by the Panthers running the football. And I guess the Canes threw interceptions on their first 2 passes and 2 different quarterbacks, and that was kind of the story that unfolded the rest of the night. You know, they got a couple late scores, but it was meaningless in a game that was one-sided.
See, you were a major force on a lot of good teams. Obviously, it's St. Thomas and then Pittsburgh, and I don't know, how I don't know if you ever made the Grey Cup in your years up there in the Canadian Football League, but it has to be. I mean, it's unfathomable that a team of this level could be flat week after week after week after week. I mean, if you were playing on a team like that, I can't imagine you ever experienced that where a team just comes out dead flat every freaking time. It's hard to watch sometimes, and you keep waiting for some kind of a spark to ignite, and it never happens. I mean, a total flame out this year by the Hurricanes, almost inexplicably so.
Well, it's been disappointing, to say the least. And you're right; it would be different if they were playing games, and you saw the passion or the excitement and the urgency to get things done. And it just seems like there's more urgencies with guys that don't have the equipment on than the guys that are in between the white lines. And sometimes that's a concern. And I don't know how you recruit yourself or portal yourself out of this mess unless you get the right mixture and unless you get the right guys. And sometimes it starts with the guy at the top and filters down. So, maybe it's a little bit more self-evaluation of what you think you are and what you want to do as a program. And it's just not, beating the same kind of dead horse we're going to do this, we're going to build a culture, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Sometimes it's just the simplistic things that need to be straightened out, and sometimes the other stuff takes care of itself.
All right, I want to get into the Dolphins a little bit. And, of course, the game yesterday starts on 30-zip. Houston has been looking hapless and is in a very compromising position this year. You got Lovie Smith there. You talk about the ultimate sacrificial lamb. He would be that as, I guess, is he their interim coach or actually their head coach? He's their head coach. Yeah, they hired him. But they've been, really getting trounced of late. It's understandable. They might have been competitive a little bit more in some of these losses earlier in the season, but it seems like the steady hammering is starting to get to them a little bit. Unseasonably hot. If you're not a believer in global warming, I suggest that you sit on the sun side in late November of Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah.
They had a shot, and I've been in those seats on the sun side in the lower bowl, John. I don't know if you ever sat down there in like the 140 section or whatever that is. And
I used to give those away. Defo.
Yes.
Those would you give away?
Beautiful seats. I mean, you couldn't have a better view of a football game. I mean, it's almost like you're in the game, and you can call to Tom Brady if he's on the sideline there. Hey, Tommy boy, what about yourself? And he'll hear you. But impossible to sit there. And they showed a bunch of Houston fans, and they were just schwitzing like there's no tomorrow. So, I mean, you would have to figure that Houston was completely up against it because it was a scorching day, late November day, and, the Dolphins hold all the edge. And the Fins offense, to open up the game, extremely exciting as always. I mean, do they not have one of the more electrifying offenses? People think of Kansas City, but Kansas City, gets bogged down sometimes. Tua's been converting on, red zone possessions. When he's inside the 10-yard line, they're usually scoring touchdowns. And on crafty pass plays, so where Tua, does his thing, running around a little bit and zings a pass in there. Looked perfect for a half. So, what did you think about that? And where does that leave us now? Where we need to go 1-5 to get the over this year. That's my first accomplishment.
I love where your head's at, Defo.
Yeah,
obviously
on that next win.
1-5 does it. 1-5.
Next win.
Could we not get there? I mean, it seems impossible to conceive that we would not, at least with the Dolphin team, be in a position to cash our bet and probably if they split their last 6 games, they end up with 11 victories. Not bad.
They should.
Yeah, I think that's highly achievable, and I think that will happen. Thoughts on the game? I thought the Dolphins looked great early. Came out and did what they wanted to do, despite some drops, what we haven't seen out of the Miami receiving corps, despite some misses by Tua, which could have been interceptions that were either dropped or bobbled or just missed the mark. But all in all, I thought it was a really good performance coming out of the bye week for the offense. And I was surprised that, not really surprised, but I was happy to see the defense take advantage of a bad team where they shut them down. They completely shut them down on third down. I think they were 2 for 13 on third down. They didn't advance the football in the first half past the 43-yard line. I think they were, 0 for on third down in the first half. They end up getting 5 sacks. They get a defensive score, multiple forced fumbles. It was just a nice, dominant performance, and it was a team performance because this organization has seen dominating offenses, dominating defenses. But I think this team's starting to play complementary football, and that's the way you get to meaningful games in December and January. And that's where this team has to squarely put their focus now. And really, you have San Francisco on the road, the Chargers on the road, and Buffalo on the road in the next 3 weeks. And that's, that's a daunting task on the road because you're going to play really good football teams that can score points and aren't afraid of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Tua Tagovailoa, and they've got their own arsenal of weapons at their disposal. And it's going to come down to, penalties, turnovers, maybe 5 or 6 key plays in the game that sway the victory one way or another. And you're just hoping that, the Dolphins can find enough in the last 6 games, 4 of them on the road, that they can keep the momentum that they've got right now.
Well, and John, what it was nice to see was We've seen this season. Look, the Bills should have lost to the Lions, and the Lions are playing better, but they're still not a good team. Like, you'll play these teams that are down, but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to win. And the fact that they took it so seriously, the fact that they got up 30-0 at half, yeah, they screwed around the second half because he went to the reserves early. You saw Armstead go down, Tua started to get hit, so you weren't taking any chances, and they still held on for a double-digit victory. It's nice to see this team take that step where you're not only beating the teams you're supposed to beat, you're beating them the way you should beat them, which is what good teams do. They're not look at the Ravens. Like, the Ravens struggled mightily with the Jags and then lost. Like, the Dolphins aren't doing that. They're taking care of business in a way we haven't seen them in a long time.
You know what's funny too, Lubie? Everybody takes for granted that, yeah, you played the Lions, you played the Bears, and I did. You know, I look at their record and I go, you know, the Dolphins, let's send a house. If I'm a bettor, let's bet the house on these games.
Yeah.
Well, the Lions game was a 4-point game.
Yep.
The Bears game was a 3-point game.
Yep.
You know, the Bills found that out on Thanksgiving. That wasn't going to be a layup. They needed a miracle with 20-some seconds left to pull out a victory. So every game, you know, other than, you know, the Texans kind of being the Texans, and for the second half, they're one play away from Tua going back in the game.
Yes.
Because you're worried about closing it out, right? So you never really know, depending on the opponent. You know, you take it for granted sometimes, but it's the NFL and everybody's getting paid. You know, you always hear that, and it's true because those guys have a competitive spirit. As bad as their record may be at 1-8-1, they played hard in the second half, and they were, you know, a couple plays away from making it a one-possession game. And then the Dolphins were going to have to put their starters back in on offense. But now you've cleared kind of those hurdles that you needed to clear, that you should have cleared. And it sets the stage, you know, to be competitive in the AFC East. We're not only getting in the playoffs, we're talking about winning the AFC East. And that's going to be kind of my focus. San Francisco, yes, very important. Chargers out in LA, very important game. Green Bay on Christmas, yeah, it'll be a good test at home. But it's 3 games against Buffalo, New England, both on the road, and then the Jets at home to close out the season. I think that's going to tell you if the Dolphins can host a playoff game or they're going to be on the road for the playoffs.
Remember how we used to look forward to those, snowbound bloodbaths between the Bills and the Dolphins in the Danny Boy era?
Yep.
And, you couldn't wait. There was wild anticipation for these games. And maybe that'll be the case. San Francisco playing very well, shuts out New Orleans, who's been a giant disappointment all season long. That Dennis Allen, I don't know, does he last past this year? John Congemi, he was a failure before with the Raiders. That was, I guess, was that the only time that a team actually left its coach in Europe after they played one of those games in London and didn't have him on the team plane coming back? Remember, he got canned, I think, after the Raiders laid an egg there. But anyway, San Francisco, it looks like a tall order. The Chargers, obviously dangerous, come back yesterday, win their game in dramatic fashion over Arizona, which I believe had Kyler Murray back in that game, and they get a last-second touchdown, a 2-point conversion to win it. And then, the Bills look like a formidable challenge. But this stat, and I'm sure you guys talked about this, and it surprised me because we did have your man Danny Marino here for 17 seasons or whatever. I think it was 17, and this tied a record. This 30-point performance. That's their 4th consecutive 30-point game, and that ties a franchise record for consecutive games with 30 or more points. Is that possible?
I believe it is, and it is. This is a team that can score a lot of points, and it creates a lot of space. In a defensive secondary, I think
these guys are wide open. They're wide open in the middle of the field. Yeah. It's amazing.
I've never seen an offense create as much space, and that speed puts fear in the opposition, definitely. But I think the way to combat the Miami Dolphins going against this offense, you cannot be predictable. And I say that meaning with the linebacker drops and the way that you do things on defense, I just think that you have to change up what your drop zones are and change up your routing and change up the way you disguise things, because this offense is predicated on timing and the ball's coming out on time. And you always see that those windows are wide open because linebackers are taught, hey, I'm going to take a 45-degree angle and I'm going to go to this spot. Well, the Dolphins know that. So the Dolphins are running their routes and they're timing it up so that the blinding speed of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are blowing by where the linebackers are supposed to be into these vast areas of space that all there is green grass and a football, and all you got to do is catch it. And then you've got room to run after catch, which is so dangerous. So if I'm a defensive coordinator against the Dolphins, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change up what we do, because the Dolphins have been practicing what they see on film. And I don't know if a team has done that yet or has the cojones to do that, just saying, we're going to change, because the way the teams are playing the Dolphins isn't working. So you have to do something unusual, I think, to combat the Dolphins offense and their speed. And that means kind of change and reroute and disguise differently how you play defense, and let them try to adjust, after the first quarter and go, hey, that guy's not supposed to be there. That's not what we've seen on film. And I think that's the only way you're going to slow down this Dolphin offense.
Well, and the conversation rhetoric before the season was, well, they have Tua surrounded by a decent arsenal of weapons offensively. But I mean, what's amazing is how many different guys get worked into the equation, and they're all wide open. And then, on top of that, you have Hill and Waddle performing at like high wire act exotic levels, and almost impossible to stop. And you think about, as you were discussing ways to stop the Dolphins, Belichick would always go, hey, let me take away their best performer and see how they do. It's common theory in basketball. You're going to shut down the guy that's the big scorer and let the other guys try to beat you. But it seems like these parts are almost interchangeable. And that's saying a lot, considering what's at the top there with Hill and Waddle having sensational Pro Bowl seasons.
Jeff, just look at yesterday. It was not pedestrian. I mean, I think Waddle had 10, Hill had 9 catches at the end of the day. But River Craycraft, he was resurrected yesterday.
Sure.
He just came out of nowhere, and he's got 50 or 60 yards at halftime. You got Sherfield that's out there as well.
Right.
Wilson didn't do a lot in the running game, but he didn't need to. I think the one thing.
Backup tight end, Connor TD pass.
Yeah,
Smythe
gets one. Yeah, it was unbelievable how you can spread the ball around. The one thing that can derail this team is if Armstead and that pectoral muscle that he pulled yesterday, if that's a season-ending injury,
that's bad.
They need to try to figure out how they're going to go about getting guys in the right spot on the offensive line, because Austin Jackson looked like he rolled his ankle a bit at the end of the game, came out. Now he was on, that IR for about 4 weeks and came off, and he took a couple more weeks of liberty to practice before he entered the lineup again yesterday at right tackle. Do you move him back to left if Armstead can't play? Do you get Shell back on the right side? Because on the left side, I'm not so sure he's the answer at left tackle. So there's a little bit of discussion if that injury is a lingering one or one that extends into a couple of weeks or season ending. The Dolphins have to come up with an answer up front to keep Tua in rhythm so the ball comes out quickly, the fake play action, because it really, I would rather see, if I'm a defense playing against the Dolphins, I'd rather see them gash me on the ground than do it so easily through the air. So I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to the play action, because you're just creating more space for the Dolphins to throw the football. So that offensive line, Defo and Lubie, right now is probably the main concern moving forward over the next 6 games.
Same old song. I mean, it seems like we've been singing that for a while. But what we're not singing is, sitting here waiting for Devontae Parker to, let us decide whether or not he's a franchise type receiver. It just seems like that passing game is really exciting to watch, and is clicking on a lot of different levels. And hopefully Tua can continue that. San Francisco, I think, is shut out like a bunch of teams in the second half this year, and they shut out New Orleans for the entire game yesterday. So that'll be, an interesting test. Obviously, These would be litmus test games coming up for the Miami Dolphins. This was what everybody was talking about. But, true to form, they did win the 5 straight against the suspect opponents that they were playing. And there's a lot to be said for that because not every team is able to accomplish that. All right. So with these 2 West Coast games and then the Buffalo Bills, in your crystal ball, John Congemi, what do you see as the eventual outcome? Will we have our 9 wins at the end of another 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to find a way to get one of those 2 games in California. I'm not sure which one.
Okay.
If I had to guess, it would be the Chargers that they'd have. They'd match up a little bit better against. But you know what? You're going against the Bozas. And I'm not sure that both are healthy, but that's going to be the test of getting the ball out on time, being as efficient as they can be on offense. And the Bills game, depending on the weather, I would say that would be my reservation. I think it's it's much more even than it has been over the past 4 years or 5 years since Josh Allen's been at the helm at quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. I would still give the edge to Buffalo at home. I think they would hold serve against the Dolphins. So I'm thinking that it's going to be that Chargers game. They have the best chance to win. I think San Francisco poses a pretty good challenge offensively because they have their weapons of their own. If Jimmy G has a above, average game, they can score with the Dolphins. So that would be a tough test. That's going to be a good one for Mike McDaniel going home, knowing the 49ers inside and out, having a feel for what they like to do, what they don't like to do. So, maybe that game is gettable because the Dolphins are on a roll right now. Winners, of so many games in a row and having some momentum on their side. But that Buffalo game, depending on the weather, that's going to be the toughest one of the 3, I think.
Speaking of returning home, kind of an interesting scenario to watch for next week on the NFL slate. Deshaun Watson makes his return with the Cleveland Browns, and they happen to land in Houston to take on what seemingly is a hapless Houston Texans team. But what do you think that scene's going to be like, John Congemi? And as a quarterback, you obviously are aware that you need. I don't think that you've ever had to shut out anything as monumental as the negativity that was surrounding the Watson story. And then, how weird is it that he's coming back to play in Houston for his first game back after an 11-game suspension?
Yeah, I think normally if you didn't have the off the field baggage, it would be tough to. It's always tough to go back and play against your teammates, going back and playing against a place that you called home, all those things. But to have the added incentive of, I would think, some bitterness and hatred towards Watson from former teammates because he kind of left them hanging out to dry. You've gone through, a period where you don't have a good presence at quarterback on game day to give you a chance to win week in and week out. And now he's coming back with another team. I think there's some added incentive. If you're going to try to get to 2 wins on the season, why not do it against that guy, right? So it's going to be tough for Deshaun. The environment, the pressure, not having a game under his belt, not really doing anything, but practicing. I think that's going to be a tough ask for the Cleveland Browns, even though they had, an emotional win against Tom Brady and the Bucks, yesterday.
Oh, that was great. I was, I think, getting three in a hook with the Cleveland Browns in that game. And, it looked like it was totally lost. Jacoby Brissett came up with a couple of huge plays there at the end of the game. And you would think that he would start, but, you have Deshaun Watson coming back now, and that's going to be interesting. Odds that Roger Goodell will be in the stadium for that game. Because he just decided to go on the road and welcome Deshaun back into action.
Yeah, Roger, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure Roger's going to be at that one. Maybe he will be, but it's going to be.
I can't imagine.
It's funny. You can't even tell Deshaun, hey, relax, go get a massage. Take a break.
No.
Get the pressure off.
No.
Can't even say that.
Yeah, that will be interesting to see if he opts for a pregame massage. I would think he's going to stay out of that activity. John Congemi with us here, and great that you could join us. I know you're real busy with a lot of things, but one thing, I mean, look, if you get a chance at the end of the season, certainly, but we're going to head down there sometime in the month of December. That's a guarantee from Lubie. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, and it's amazing how hot it is outside, John. I mean, if you ever needed to just chill and maybe get a little bit of a cooler climb down there in the Keys, this would be the time of year to do it, and especially great for the holidays.
I would think so. Yesterday was unusual at the stadium, and I can attest to that. It was really hot.
It was hot. Wow.
At visitor sideline. And I'm sure it was just as hot in the sports bar down at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, because that place was rocking. A lot of good games, some overtime games yesterday, some coming down to the wire. From all reports, Sundays, are one of the greatest days to be at the Big Chill, because you've got all those big screen TVs going. You've got the drinks at the tiki bar. You've got the restaurant that's popping. You've got live music outside, and you've got that, those sunset views on the Bayside that are just spectacular. So that's the place to be at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. You get great service, great food. Larry and Dominic and Amanda down there to take care of you, and just a special place to be in Key Largo.
The array of pizzas and all of the things that they do. And, of course, I'm a big fan of nachos with football, but you can't really get good nachos in most places. Sometimes it looks spectacular, and it's all like decorations at the top, like the frosting on a cake, right? You got a little bit of sour cream up there and, guacamole, but then you get into the meat of the matter there, and it's all just like bare chips with nothing. No, it's really a nice departure to get total satisfaction from that type of food at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And, if the food wasn't even that great, it would still be a great place to hang out. So it's an added bonus that this stuff is gourmet quality and so innovative and so well prepared by your brother and his staff there. They really do a great job. A tremendous place to relax. And a great place to spend on the weekends or any weekday. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, John, I know you're busy, and we appreciate you coming on today. Conference championship games, any thoughts? I mean, which ones are, you have a couple of games that are deemed to be potentially close. Utah, USC, certainly interesting, because the Trojans have made it to the precipice of greatness here and possibly getting to the Final Four with Lincoln Riley coming in the first year. He brings his quarterback in who's sensational. And yet Utah is the one team that beat him this year, that got the better of them. That's a 2-point game, USC favored. What do you think? Do the Trojans prevail and make it to the playoff?
Boy, it's going to be a tough ask for Utah to beat that team twice in one season, right? You'd have to think USC is on a roll right now, especially the way that quarterback's playing in the offense, and they're getting some turnovers. I think the other game that's interesting, I want to see how LSU can rebound after, losing to Texas A&M, which you thought that there's no way that was going to happen. And Georgia, they're still number one in my book. So I think it's kind of sad that, Michigan, Ohio State was built up so big, and now you got to play for the championship against Purdue, who you may take lightly. And then the ACC game is kind of meaningless in terms of who's going where. So I think that USC game, the Utah game, is the one to really hone in on. I think that's going to be a terrific football game, and it'll be interesting to see if Utah can do it again. They have the horses to do it and challenge USC, but I don't think anybody's playing any better than the Trojans are on offense.
No, they look great. TCU also putting up a lot of points. And what kind of threat, in your opinion? I don't know much about Kansas State. They're only 2-point dogs to TCU.
They're not bad. I mean,
undefeated. And people have been waiting all year long, saying, hey, TCU is not really all that great. They're going to get knocked off. And they fooled a lot of people. In fact, they were a real powerful play for the professor, who kept thinking that the odds makers were underestimating how good they are. They shellacked their last opponent, scored 60-plus points. Can Kansas State give them a go and knock them out of the top four? Because I guess, the angle is How do we get Alabama in the picture?
I mean, they could, Defo. And
yeah,
the funny thing about TCU is whether they play close games and pull it out at the end, in terms of finding a miracle, right? They find
sure.
a 40-yard pass that, wins them a game in under, 30 seconds, or kick a field goal at the end of the game, or they can put 60 on you as well and blow you out. So they're the type of team that can score a lot of points. Kansas State is better than you think, and I don't think they'll underestimate Kansas State. I think this is going to be a really good football game, but TCU is the better team, so I would think that they're going to prevail. I just think you're looking at the four at the end for the college football playoff. I don't see how Georgia and USC and TCU and Michigan find a way out of the top four right now.
All right. Well, I mean, it's been interesting all the way, and certainly, a couple of games that are deemed as if they were nail biters, and toss-up games by the odds makers with the USC and the TCU game. So, it should be a lot of fun coming up again next week in college football. All right, John, we will talk to you again. When are we going to come back with John? A week from Tuesday? Lubie, are you on?
Yeah, we'll get him Tuesday.
Okay. All right. Tuesday it'll be next week, John. Always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoyed your work on TV. Caught a couple of your reports there. How long is that Dolphin postgame show? It goes from like the end of the game at 4:00 till 60 minutes at 7.
Oh,
I just left the stadium a half an hour ago. It was going on.
I tune in like 5:30. The game's been over for an hour and a half, and they're still in like Dolphin countdown or whatever. That was great, and you were a part of it. So you added a lot of depth and also a good perspective to the show. Thanks so much for being with us, John. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Have a great trip, Lubie. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Congemi. Talk next
All
week.
All right, Pineapple Face. So what's the story going to be? What are we doing? We have Mike Mayo's lunchbox from Wicked Cheesesteaks today. That's going to be a lot of fun, man. And it was weird having Mayo's picture hovering over our. I mean, what were the odds of that?
I told you, I go into a lot of these restaurants,
yeah,
and I see a Mayo, and I'm like,
sure.
and they're so proud of it. They're like,
even like Capitol Grill, I think, has like a Mayo review. I mean, it's not just local places. This place was very good, Lubie. I would recommend it. They had a pasta dish there that I normally it was a little bit of a departure from the standard Italian restaurant. They didn't have a lot of things that you would find common, but they make their own pastas there, and they had it was kind of like a marsala type of sauce, sort of a mushroom kind of flavor. It was so good. I mean, every bite, and then because Mustang's limited in what she orders, and I was sharing stuff with her. I didn't exactly get what I would have preferred on the menu, but they had a chicken dish there that I mean, it was as good as any I've had. It was absolutely fantastic. It wasn't Parmesan, but with like spinach and tomatoes and this and that, garlic, fantastic. I mean, really, really well done all the way around, and cheap. I think we got out of there for a stick for the two of us, which wasn't bad with a bottle of wine. So not too shabby. A good place, La Perla de Pompano. I would recommend it to people. But there it is. I mean, Mayo staring right down at me the whole time, saying, I told you about that horse. I told you about that horse. You wouldn't be able to pay for dinner, Defo, if it wasn't for that 5-ball. It was unbelievable. Nice run there by that horse, man. That was a good tip. That was one of the better ones. Managed to turn the Mayo tip into $508, and that kind of made my day there on Friday. And helped me when the Mustang decided she wanted to visit the casino on Saturday, and I had to take her to a couple of sticks. Because I think I'm on a losing streak. All right, Wicked Cheesesteaks is just south of Commercial Boulevard if you want to stop by. I would recommend it because if you're a fan of, obviously, cheesesteak sandwiches, they have a variety of those that are all great, including chicken Phillies and this and that, spicy ones. They have all kinds of different approaches, provolone cheese. They get the cheese whiz going. So that they do very well, obviously. Thus, it's in the name of the place. But, I mean, don't overlook. The pizzas there are great. The wings there are fantastic.
Yes.
We had the lobster mac and cheese last time. They do like a lot of Maine lobster stuff. And the lobster roll at $19.95, I think, is the best bargain you will find on a lobster roll anywhere in terms of quality to price and, zero compromise on the lobster because it's fresh as a daisy.
We go to a lot of places, and Mayo, we'll talk about this, where Some places have their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And it's not even that they're a sponsor. I mean, there are plenty of places that are sponsors that we love some things. And
Yeah,
some
you loved it before they came on board.
Wicked cheesesteaks. We have yet to find something that wasn't like, wow, like literally you said it, like pizza.
You could order anything, sure.
It's really good. Like everything they do there, they do a really good job.
They really do. I mean, that was the first thing I saw. It was a guy making pizzas.
Yes.
Brian. And I'm like, wow, that looks good. And then I saw the way that they did their wings, and I thought, I have to have some of those.
What do you mean?
They're fantastic.
He pulled the quesadilla out of his rear. He took pizza
dough.
That
was the best.
Made it like calzone, but quesadilla style. It was really interesting.
That was the best chicken quesadilla I think I've had anywhere.
It was really good.
Including Mexican restaurants.
I know.
I'm glad you reminded me of that, Lubie. I'm going to have to whisper that in Mayo's ear. Make sure you get one of those chicken quesadillas again. I love them.
I was like, this guy doesn't mess around, man.
Because you can only hit Brian up for so many lobster rolls before you.
Well, that's the thing.
Wonder if you're snoring just a little bit.
Cheesesteak. We had like 8 different things, and not one was a cheesesteak. That's how good everything else is that they do.
It's amazing, man. But I could go for like a regular cheesesteak today. I really think. And I like putting a little hot sauce on there. A little, Louisiana hot sauce is always good. All right, so we'll see you there. It's Commercial Boulevard. It's on the east side of Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard. So look for Wicked Cheesesteaks, and we'll be there at 12 o'clock today with the Mike Mayo lunchbox, and then it's vacation time for Lubie. When are you actually leaving, Lubie?
I leave tomorrow morning at 8 in the morning.
Oh, okay, good. All right. And out of Miami or Fort Lauderdale?
I'm hoping it's Fort Lauderdale. It's funny. Tony makes fun of me, but between the selling of the house, the buying of the house, the working on the house, so I still had to be here overseeing it. Then
you're in the middle of a lot of shit, and all of a sudden you're on vacation.
Work like we didn't take time off. Like you took time off, so I had to do a week where I was hosting. Like there's been a lot going on. So this trip has been sort of the back burner. I know it's Honolulu, Oahu, and I think it's Fort Lauderdale. I think we have a stop somewhere. I don't know. I'll survive. And we have a lot going on.
But you're actually getting there, Tuesday.
Yes,
you're leaving Tuesday morning, and you're going to get there like Tuesday night. But it's 6 hours earlier there.
It's 5 hours earlier there.
5 hours earlier. Okay.
But even then, because of the stops and it's such a long flight, we're still going to get there.
All right. I mean, good luck with that, Libby. I've never been. I would like to go to Hawaii before I check out, but I would have to say the odds are becoming more and more prohibitive. Yeah.
It's
a lot of juice, on that. I could live without it. I mean, I feel like, we're here. I'm having a great time here. Although it's exceedingly hot. If you're not a believer in global warming, just go ahead and continue to elect MAGA Republicans, and let's be in scientific denial. As polar bears are falling in, through the cracks in the ice like they were jumping into a lake in the middle of the summertime. And is it not exceedingly hot here? We used to get 4 months of great weather.
Yes.
And it was worth the torment of some of the other weather that, I don't mind it. I mean, obviously, I like tropical climates. I'm happy here, even if it's 100 degrees and I'm schwitzing. But I really enjoyed my Ratso Rizzo dream. It was largely fueled by coming down here on, Christmas breaks and, semester breaks from college and that sort of stuff, whether it was Easter or Christmas and Thanksgiving, and I just loved it when I'm on my walk of life. You get hit with a waft of air like that, and little changes, subtle changes as you're walking. 1 minute it's bright and sunny, then you got a little cloud cover, and you get a little breeze. You can feel the rain coming on. I mean, it's like being Martin Sheen in Apocalypse Now, going down a river there, and you never know what's coming up next. Could be Zulu warriors with darts, right? What's that? But all in a pleasant way, and it was just the air and the beach, air. Well, it was so fantastic. I said, I think subliminally that convinced me to live here, Lubie, over the years.
Well, it's done you well. I mean, look, that's the thing is the heat sucks, but I'd rather this than the cold. But
This is fantastic, yeah.
Late November to February, nice weather.
I like it to cool off a little bit.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
This weekend sucks.
Scorchers every day. Scorchers. My God. You get in your car, your hands stick to the steering wheel. I mean, you feel like, unfortunately, like Jay Leno, when he was working on his car. It's just like, wow. By the way, did anybody shake off something, drastic like that any better than Leno did? My God. He was like right back outside saying, hey, I'm going to be doing stand-up in a couple of weeks, right? Face was all messed up. Unbelievable. Burns is nothing. That is like torture to recover from, according to anybody that's had problems with that. Man, remember, you'd see guys had to go into like some kind of thing that was absolutely, as painful as any experience you could have in recovering from anything, and you had to do it like 40 times. Hey, who needs it? All right, so all the best to everybody. Don't fry out there. And we'll see you at 12 o'clock. Wicked Cheesesteaks. We'll be chowing. We'll be the guys chowing in the corner there on the inside. And Brian, hopefully, he'll join us there. And Mike Mayo will be there because he's omnipresent, Mayo. You're at the track, he's in your ear. You're in a restaurant, you're intimate table for your anniversary. You look up, there's Mayo. A young Mayo, by the way, smiling down on us. They never do update that thumbnail picture once they take it. All right. We'll see you later on today. Come on out and join us there. Have a cheesesteak with us. If you're a fan of the show, we'd love to see you at Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale, just south of Commercial on Federal Highway on the east side. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks to Tony and John for accommodating us and the busy Lubie schedule. I must say, you know what? As much as I enjoy doing the show, I'm not opposed to maybe having a few days off here, Mike Lubie.
I was gonna say you didn't fight to have me show you how to work it.
Well, we need to be able to do that, but we'll put the show on hiatus for a week. That's fine.
I don't plan on going away for a long time, but yes, we will have backups and this and that. But to me, we haven't taken a show off since May.
No, we work hard. I don't question our work ethic at all.
So I was like, whatever, man.
We've been doing this a long time, 12 years together, and we always show up and we always try to do our best, even though it may seem like we're not really trying all that hard to you. But thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
When are you guys going to stop mailing it in? That's always the thing that's in my head. It's 9/11.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.